Hi, I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cindy.
And we're here with another Feeding Frenzy for the 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity by Edwene Gaines.
A simple
guide to unlimited abundance.
Very good. Yay. We are still on chapter 2.
We are on chapter 2. We're still discussing tithing.
This one we've covered pretty much is whether we tithe on net or gross. And I've already mentioned that I tithe on gross. And she says, do you want to prosper a little or a lot?
Exactly.
You know, you can't outgive God, and the more you can give.
There have been several times that I know that you and I have given our tithes not exactly knowing what the 10% is. We just follow what we're led, and we ask, how much should this tithe be? And sometimes it's more than we have brought in, but it always comes anyway. So I always fall back on what I'm led to do.
Right. She says, what do you do about the money that you made before you started tithing? And her answer is just start with that.
Yeah, exactly. I can't go back and account for, all I can do is start from today.
Right. There's no
and that also applies to when I've decided to stop tithing. I can't make up for the time period when I quit, but I can start over again.
Right, right.
So
you don't,
once
we
I
don't
learned
owe God anything.
Exactly. Once I learned that this really works, I can't go back and undo the wheel that's already turned.
Right.
So I just have to start from where I'm at.
What if my partner, spouse, or family doesn't believe in tithing?
There was a time when my husband at the time and I differed on our opinion of that. And so I decided, okay, I will just tithe on what I bring in. And let him decide what he wanted to do with what he brought in.
In some relationships, you may not know how much is yours to tithe on. But I've heard her say many times, I don't know if it's in here or not, but that you need to sit down with your partner and
just decide what is yours.
Decide which part of this is mine. And she says in here, it might upset some apple carts, but they're apple carts that need to be upset.
I would agree
and
with that.
If you have a relationship...
Our spiritual relationship with, as Edwene says, with the God of our understanding, is personal.
Right.
And so my tithing for someone else does not get them the spiritual benefits because it's personal.
Right.
If I'm tithing of what I'm giving and what I'm receiving. You see what I'm saying? So I need to tithe on what I receive.
Right.
I cannot give for you. You cannot give for me. Now we can agree and do it together, but I can't give for you and you can't give for me.
But I'm thinking of like when I was a housewife and wasn't physically bringing in any money, but I was sure as heck helping out with everything around the house, and he could not have done what he did without me. You know, some of that was mine to tithe on. Now, thank goodness he agreed with me, and we both agreed where it should go. But if we hadn't, and I'd known about these principles, then I would have been spiritually obligated in my mind to sit down and have that tough conversation with him. Okay, how much of this do you consider mine? Is it half and half or 60-40 or what? You know, and have that hard conversation to make that decision. So some of that...
So how would you come up with that number?
In my mind, it was 50-50. Now, I don't know. I didn't have that problem, so I can't say. But
well, I would say if you don't know, then I would look at how much would it cost to replace if I had to bring someone in to do this. How much would it cost to replace?
And in that case, he would have had to pay somebody for childcare and somebody to do the cleaning and the laundry and the dishes and everything. So I don't want people out there who may be homemakers and feel like they don't bring anything in.
Oh, they certainly do. Yeah.
They do.
It's just a little bit more difficult to figure out exactly what that amount is.
When do I tithe?
I think that's personal. I think it just depends on how you do your finances. There are times when I can't wait to tithe, so as soon as I get something, I'm ready to get it back out again. There are other times when I'm not exactly led to a specific place yet, so I'll wait until I am. So there have been times when I've waited to tithe for a little while, and then there are times that I can't wait to. So as soon as it comes in, I tithe on it.
Tithing ahead, or somebody that she tells a story about was tithing ahead. Which, like I said, I used to give 11% instead of 10, and I sort of thought of that as tithing ahead or giving the 10% of what I wanted to make. You know. So I just don't think there's a wrong answer.
No,
I think the only wrong answer is not to do it, or to do under the 10%.
Well, I don't even think not to do it is a wrong answer. It's
No,
You're just not going to get the spiritual benefit
That's
if
true.
you choose not to.
exactly.
It's not wrong not to, in my opinion.
Right. What do I tithe on?
I think that goes back to what Edwene said earlier. It just depends on how much more you want to receive.
Mm-hmm. Well, she says on all money we receive, salary, bonuses, earned
I thought you meant
interest.
amount. I thought you meant amount.
Right. Monetary gifts, dividends, proceeds from the sale of a house, and money we win, inherit, or find on the street. Everything. All financial income. When in doubt, she still tithes.
Exactly. When I am questioning it, I go on and tithe.
Right. Now, I've heard her since saying, it may be in here, but I haven't seen it yet, that if it's a gift, a physical gift, other than money, she does not consider that to have to tithe on.
Like if somebody gave me a sweater or something, I don't think I would go to the trouble to figure out how much they spent and then tithe on it. You know, that is just simply a gift.
Right. Do I have any say in how my tithe may be used?
No.
No. That is God's money, and that's not our.
I see it as soon as I give it, I release the need to tell it where it needs to go.
Right.
Because if I choose to put stipulations on how it's spent, then I am choosing to push my opinions on someone else.
Right.
And what they do with what they have.
Right.
And I just don't have that right.
No.
I don't have the right to do that.
I agree.
It doesn't matter if I'm giving to a person or an institution or a church or wherever.
Right.
God will spend that money the way it needs to be spent.
Right. And she also makes the point that even if you're giving to a church and you're a member of that church, it's still not your responsibility to tell where that tithe goes.
Exactly.
You know, that's
I agree
left
with
up
that.
to the board or the governing body of the church. How do I tithe on gifts, lunches, free tickets, and so forth? So here it is. It says, keep in mind that there really is no such thing as personal property. Gifts, then, are yours to enjoy and then pass on when you're through with them. So if we think of it like that, then that makes perfect sense. You can't tithe and give a tenth of a ticket to somebody.
Right.
So just, use it.
But
enjoy
if
it.
I feel led down the road to buy a ticket for someone,
Right. Exactly.
I could do
Right.
that too.
Did Jesus teach tithing?
I don't think he had to. I think there were certain things that they were already doing that he didn't have to address.
Right. That's exactly what she said. Jesus did not need to teach it because it was so much a part of his religious heritage.
They were already doing it.
Granted that one tithe.
Yeah.
How do I overcome my fear of tithing?
By doing it.
Jumping in, feet first.
Literally, by
She
doing
said,
it.
just tithe in spite of your fear and hold to the promise that the windows of heaven are opening up for you and that you're proving that God is the source of your good.
And I think you have to do it at 10%. Anything less, I think you have to do it at 10%. Anything less than that is not a tithe. It just really isn't.
Right. Is it okay to tithe 1% or 5%? Do I have to tithe 10%?
If you're going to call it a tithe, I
Since
think
the
you
word tithe means 10%, anything less is not a tithe and does not fulfill the law. How can I tithe when I can't even pay my bills? How can you pay your bills without tithing?
Exactly. I've proved to myself that I can't do it without tithing.
Yeah.
But
She says don't allow the fear to paralyze you and keep you stuck in less than you are, being less than you are. Tithe first and trust God to assist you in paying the bills. Be responsible about money and refuse to create debts that you'll feel guilty about. Ask for wisdom. And I will have to say, as long as we've been tithing, we've never been late on a bill other than just forgetfulness or something like that. I mean, we've always had the money to cover the bills.
yes.
Can I be excused from tithing? I'm retired, on welfare, unemployed in school, and on a fixed income. And I've heard her say 1,000,000 times, who fixed it?
I love that.
Yeah, who fixed your income? Just because the government says you can only make this much, or anybody else.
Just because, let's say, if you're getting a standard check, it doesn't mean that's your only source.
Right.
It can come
God
different
is your
ways.
source. It can come anyway.
So I think if you fixed it, it's because, like Edwene says, you fixed it,
Right.
not you
Right.
have just decided that's
I can
the only
almost
way
hear
it's
her
coming.
voice in my head.
Can't you?
saying
So
some of
no,
those
I
things.
wouldn't say that's an excuse.
No, in God's mind, there's no such thing as a fixed income. Besides, if you consider yourself on a fixed income, it's because you fixed it with your belief system. No one is excused from obeying spiritual law. Lack of faith will cause you to justify not tithing, but that thinking will keep you from your unlimited
It will.
abundance.
It will. It'll keep you from the other sources of income that could come your way.
Right.
It really does.
How do I know where to tithe?
I have to ask.
It's exactly
I
what it
have
says.
to ask. I have to go into prayer, ask, where, remind me again, where have I been fed? Where has someone reminded me of who I am?
Yeah.
And usually, it never fails. I ask and it's answered. You know what I'm saying? It may take a little while before I remember where. But
Yeah.
it's answered when I ask.
Does it somehow diminish the tithe if I can deduct it on my income taxes?
I don't think so.
No, I don't either.
I don't think so. I
Like
think
the
it's a
Bible
separate
says,
issue.
Jesus said, "Give to Caesar's what is Caesar's." So she says, "No, I don't believe so. If you can legally deduct the tithe, then you have more
That's
money
the
to give
whole
out
thing right there.
legally, right?
I have
We
to be in
stay
integrity with myself and with others in order for me to stay in the flow.
We talked about this one earlier too. Isn't it sinful to be so concerned with money?
You know what? I think we're concerned with it anyway. Now, I think the question is it sinful to be conscious about it? And I'd say absolutely not. I think it's the opposite. I think we are truly honoring God and how God works when we are conscious about it.
Right, right. I like her answer. She says, "I believe that money is a spiritual symbol of invisible spiritual substance. Money is not evil, but a lot of people get stuck on the concept that it is. In our Puritan ethic, we've been taught that money is the root of all evil. But I don't believe that's true. I think it was Mark Twain who said, the lack of money is the root of all evil."
Yep.
Doesn't that make better sense? I mean,
Well,
if you have
does.
plenty of money, would you steal?
Exactly.
Of course not. It's a lack of money that causes people to do bad things, and it's when we begin to love money more than our integrity that we begin to have problems. I totally agree with
I
that.
agree with Edwene on
She
that.
goes on to say, God does not want you to be poor. I believe God wants us to be rich and lavish and
I
abundant.
believe the whole plan was for us to come and live it up, to experience everything. And I cannot imagine, this one I cannot wrap my head around, I cannot imagine a higher power saying, I've given you all of this, but I only want you to experience it this much.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? I just can't get
I
there.
love what she says here. She says, God wants you to have everything. God has put you here on this earth so that you may have it all, if you are willing to have it all.
Yep. That's it.
That's the ticket
That's
right
it.
there.
Right there.
What about people who don't tithe and they prosper anyway?
Then they do. They're working within the law, but not conscious of it.
Well, she goes on to say, you don't know what their relationships are
Right.
like. You don't know what their
Right.
physical body or
Right.
health is like. You know, or their work.
It's not my judgment.
Right, right. So we don't know. Just because they have money doesn't mean they're prosperous.
Right.
So,
Prosperity is not just money.
right. She says, Charles Fillmore says in Prosperity, tithing is based on the law that cannot fail, and it's the surest way ever found to demonstrate plenty, for it is God's own law and a way of giving. God wants the windows of heaven to open up for you, too, to shower your life with abundance. That's something to bank
You
on.
know what?
That is
That is good stuff.
Stream.
Stream.